The first poem that I'm going to read was previously published in the Red River Review, and it's called Godspeed. But that's a little introduction before I begin. It is a poem that was written out of boredom and then overload of Greek mythology. You would hear the name Ganymedes in the poem. And if you are not familiar with Greek mythology, Ganymedes is actually a rather beautiful youth whose Zeus was rather besotted with, and he turned into a giant eagle and stepped down from Olympus to abduct him back to his quarters, where he became his own private water bearer. And boredom challenged me to give this little myth a twist. So here goes. Godspeed. Ganymedes makes a trip to the convenience store because he has run out of condoms. A crisis he realized with barely 5 minutes to go before the arrival of stately Heracles at his apartment. The gym session ended sooner than he expected. The new drug must have worked. He can feel his veins rushing with god-like energy in his imagination as he walks past rows of peanut butter jars and zucchini pickles, intent on the perfect fit of rubber. No ribs this time, he thinks, thinner, and the old lube needs replacement. Heracles, Heracles. The name twists inside him like wet tongue. He can almost smell the faint memories of his bubble butt rising up towards him from the yet-to-be-stained sheets like a crest of wave muscling out from sea to swallow him alive, to lead him into the deep stillness broken by caroling of mermen who have stripped down to their scales in the heat of their meth-white ecstasies. Courage, my darling, courage. Thus spoke graceful Athena as she emblazoned these words upon the skin, the eternal red dusk of their love. Thank you. This next poem is called Exploration. It is a fun poem, just like the first one actually, but the nature of its fun is a little bit different from the first poem. Exploration. Many years ago, while I was still living with her, Mother would shut herself in her room when she found out I had invited yet another stranger back home for sex. Mother hated sex. She hated sex as much as she hated homosexuals. The slightest suggestion unnerved her. It still does. This aversion to sex, however, did nothing to turn her away from watching it, which was what she did in her room whenever I burst into the house laughing to the suggestions of another man. Mother kept a stash of straight porn videos in her closet. The cheap-looking ones made in the early days when every man seemed to have hair, either as curly as the women or just as long, and every fucker was in that shape. She hid them under her bras and panties, but she also kept Father's many boxes of Durex, which were mostly expired. Mother would glare at us in silence, so silent you could actually hear her mind breaking apart like an empty vase on a cold, hard porcelain. I would bite my lips from smiling and throw a sheepish glance at my new lover as if to tell him this could be Mother too. Being blessed with the good fortune of always meeting strangers who wanted only sex from me, I was always still able to lead them back to my bedroom where the usual business was carried out. As I closed my door on her, mother would rise from the living room sofa and enter her room, the mark of tragedy, like a single spotlight shining on her hunched-over frame, which exited like the last line of a stale monologue gliding off on stage. As I tore off my briefs and dived down the shaft of my new lover's cock, I could see, with vacant lucidity, mother in her room diving amongst a collection of silk underwear in search of a secret stash of porn. As my new lover tore through faint resistance to enter me, I could hear the sounds of faint pleasure spurted out from the throats of those women whom mother was watching being dogged and gagged, amongst other acts, by one man after another or all at the same time. As I pulled him deeper into me, I could smell the sharp, coppery scent of fresh laceration, as if a wound inside mother had enlarged like a womb. And it was I who was being pushed out, I who was never a quiet child. Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa. That was very invigorating. Okay, I'd like to remind all you guys that this, although this is a literary reading, we're also quite like laid back. So, if your feet if your back gets stiff or you just feel like eating one of the bulasans or rambutans back there, then you can just get up and help yourself. None of us are going to be offended. Okay. Our next reader. Okay, it's time for a dose of reality after the poems and music and plays we've heard. Our next reader is Indu, who's one of the co-founders of Sayoni, where she's known as Plendun, and she is also one of the co-founders of Plume.sg, which is a group for gay youth, and she is only just starting NUS. And she is a young Indu. Indu.
I wrote this blog entry a very long time ago. Okay, not that long, but it seems like a long time ago. And it's actually in response to a man. So, a man started by local machine on the blog. If you can remember this, I'm not sure any of you do actually. It goes in the format of I'm that boy, or I'm that man, or I'm that woman who did blah blah, who did blah 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 blah. So it's supposed to be like a cathartic kind of thing. So if you actually go and look at my blog at that time, it's changed from then. I wrote the first draft a couple years ago. Then I revised it and I started saying And then now when Eugene asked me to read the ContraDiction, I kind of modified it further because I'm no longer the person I was at that time. So you can see. I'm that girl. Yes, that girl whom my age felt older than the rest of the world. I'm that girl who climbed trees and played soccer and cricket with the boys, yet loved her Barbie dolls. I'm that girl who was always on the outside, no matter where she went. I'm that girl who is always so resistant to change, and when it actually happens, she adapts like a chameleon. I'm that girl who played alone in the playground of her new flat, because she didn't know anyone in this new country. I'm that girl who made a hobby of going up and down the elevators of HDB blocks, because also new to her. I'm that girl whom you cornered in the elevator and told me not to tell anyone. I'm that girl who then grew up and fell in love with you. I was the one who made all kinds of excuses to be with you, even though she didn't know why. I'm that girl who you thought you were beautiful even when you're drenched, exhausted, and had a pimple on your nose. I'm that girl who told you her love by the seaside, waves lapping up on the shores and knowing you could never reciprocate. I was that girl who then watched you walk away from me after you most politely rejected me because I was a girl. I'm that girl who lost your friendship when I told you I was bisexual. I'm the one who loves both men and women, represents only one side to the world.